Hello, good morning. My name is Nicole Gallace and I am a Talent Solutions Manager with FoodGrads and a recruiter with DeLacy North America. I'm pleased to bring our next mentorship session on automation this morning through the CareersNOW program. CareersNOW is Food and Beverage Ontario's workforce development initiative. And we are delivering mentorship sessions to students and recent graduates, as well as job seekers that are interested in the food and beverage industry. And I would certainly encourage anyone looking to explore careers in food and beverage processing to visit the CareersNOW.ca website and create your job seeker account to be able to access job fairs, mentorship sessions and other resources that are available to you. And today, as I mentioned, we are talking about automation and robotics in the food and beverage industry. And I'm joined by Mush, who is with Italpasta. It's interesting, as soon as I mentioned this title, our friends in FBO, one in particular, Jason, said you have to have Mush on this episode because it's such an important topic. I think people are more and more interested in how technologies are affecting the workforce, jobs in the industry, and particularly how our food is made. I mean, that's something that we're all interested in. So Mush, thank you for taking the time to join us today. And I'm sort of going to pass it over to you. If you wouldn't mind, could you describe your career journey in the industry so far? I always like to start with that question so that people understand, how you came to be in the job you're in. Ultimately, we do focus on careers and jobs are really at the core of these mentorship sessions, and then obviously learning a little bit more about the industry. But yeah, how did you become an HR manager with Italpasta?
Thank you very much, Nicole, for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here and share some of my experience. And I guess it's going to be a beneficial session for the food grads who are looking for employment. Well, I can start a little early. Basically, it's been like about 10 years since I moved to Canada. Well, I came as an international student. I went to University of Windsor, and then I was studying human resources. I did master's in human resources in University of Windsor, and after that, I was looking for employment, something in HR position, but in Windsor, opportunities are very, very limited. So I decided to move to Toronto, and then soon after moving to Toronto, my career journey started within the staffing industry. So I worked with Adecco. Adecco is one of the largest staffing agencies in the world. I worked with them for about 3 years and a half. I was working in their Mississauga branch. I was working as a recruiting consultant. So while working at Adecco, I had a chance to work with some of the large organizations when it comes to placing people there. Um, I was able to work with Microsoft, with Pepsi, with auto manufacturer Nissan, Porsche, Bell Canada, and so many other organizations as well. So there I had a chance to work a little bit, as I mentioned, with Pepsi. So food industry, personally, I love food. So I always wanted to had like a passion for food industry, and I also had a passion for like automobile industry as well. So I was like, what, I want to pursue my career in either one of these industries. So I was working with Adecco for a few years, and then within the staffing industry, you can't really do a lot other than recruitment. So I was missing the other components of HR that I learned when I was in my university. So I was thinking that I eventually I want to see myself growing within the HR profession. I just don't want to limit my skills within that industry, within recruitment only. And then I was looking for employment. I was very open at the time, though, to be honest with you. But I was able to find a job with Mondelez International. Mondelez is a division of Kraft Food. So I got a position with them in the Scarborough plant. Um, it was a contract position. I joined there as an HR generalist over there. and then I worked with them for about a year. And then coming to and when I was coming close to my contract, I was reached out by a headhunter, and then they came across my profile. They reached out to me. They told me that they have this opportunity with Italpasta Limited if I'm interested or not. Of course, I was very interested because I was working with the agent generalist, and then my contract was coming to an end. I was kind of looking for employment anyway, but I didn't really get a chance to apply for jobs just because I was so busy at work and at my house. So I was, it was like a golden opportunity, but at the same time, prior to joining Italpasta, my experience was mostly within the staffing industry. So when they reached out to me that there is an opportunity for like an HR manager position with this company, I was a little nervous at the time. I was thinking that if I will be able to handle the position or not. But sure enough, it's been like 4 years and a half, and then everything went so smoothly. Um, One thing I must mention that during the interview process, there were like three stages of interviews that I had to go through. Um, the first stage was with the interim HR manager, official process then, and then after the interview, he told me that this is the first person he has met for this position. There will be a few other candidates who he is planning to meet in the next few weeks. I kind of gave up my hope. I thought that the other candidates would be much more qualified than me, so I probably have little to no hope for this position. But then again, a few weeks later, when they reached out to me again and told me that the owner of the company wants to meet me, then I had some hope. And then I asked them, okay, so how many other candidates are going for the meeting with owner? And then I was told that there was another person who already met, but the owner didn't like him. So you have a high chance if you can nail the interview. And then I tried my best, and then it did work out. Yeah,
That's awesome. It's interesting. I think you and I have a very similar background. So I originally started my, I would say, recruitment experience working for Robert Half, which was, a very, very large finance and accounting recruitment organization. And then that sort of, I worked there for a few years, but then that encouraged me to look at other recruitment organizations, and I never thought I'd be a recruiter, and then ended up at an organization called Ian Martin, where I got to really specialize. And so I liked what you said about food. I had the opportunity to kind of work in any industry, like you mentioned, lots of different companies that you work with when you're recruiting, and I fell in love with the food industry. I think it pulls you in. It's something that we understand. We all have a staking. We're all stakeholders. We all eat. And I just thought the people were, it was a different feel when I would work with the food companies versus some of the other organizations in different industries. So it just pulled me in. So that's amazing. So you've been with Italpasta now, you said 4 years?
4 years and a half, yeah.
Right. And in your role as HR manager, tell us a little bit about what you do, your day to day, because I think it's always interesting. Every company is different. Every organization, does something slightly different. So I think it's really interesting just to hear what people's experiences are.
Sure. So I can also start like a little intro of Italpasta.
Yeah.
Italpasta is a family-owned business. The name of our owner is Mr. Joseph Italpasta. He started this business almost about 35 years ago. So back in the days, prior to starting this company, he used to work with Primo Foods. That's another pasta company. And then, unfortunately, that company was bought out by a U.S. company, and everyone had to leave the organization at the time. So, whatever savings he had and whatever money he had, he basically decided to invest all this money to start a new company. And then at the time, people were like, you gotta be crazy. You are just taking away all your money and you're about to invest. You don't know how it's gonna turn out. You might lose everything. But he decided to take the risk. So it's been 35 years, and Italpasta is right now the largest pasta manufacturing company in Canada. So the head office is located in Brampton, and then we have another distribution center. That one is also located in Brampton as well. And other than that, Italpasta has a partnership with another company called Italia Elementary. That company is located in Italy. That one is more like a daily meat slicing plant. So it's like a partnership between Italpasta and Italy Elementary. So with these two companies, they have started another company called Italy Elementary Canada. So that one is also located in Brampton. So there what we do is basically it's like a daily meat slicing plant. So the cold cut meat like salami, mozzarella, prosciutto, those are the types of cuts we have. So we import the meat from Italy, and then here we basically slice them, and then we sell them to the local market. And about a year from now, about a year ago, there's another pasta company in near Montreal called Greece Pasta. So we have bought that company as well. So when it comes to my responsibilities, HR at Italpasta Limited is a standalone position. So I'm responsible for human resources and also for health and safety. So it's starting from recruitment, onboarding, orientation, offboarding, termination, any type of interrelation, any type of disciplinary action, benefit administration, pension administration, any type of health and safety related issues like work-related injuries, getting the employee back to work after the injury, dealing with WSIB, or if it is a critical injury, then dealing with the Ministry of Labor. And then also, if there's like any sort of legal issues on behalf of the HR standpoint, I have to deal with that as well. Also, I'm responsible for organizing different company events. For example, during the summertime, we organize annual barbecue for our employees. And then Christmas is coming, so we have already organized our Christmas lunch for like different locations. So I'm responsible for that as well. That's pretty much it. Also, like any type of policy implementation, because government implements or I would say introduces new policies from time to time, and the companies need to comply by them. So any type of creation of these policies or so implementation, I'm responsible for all of them. That's pretty much all I can say.
Mm. So you get to meet all the people that work closely with everybody in the organization. How many employees roughly do you
Yeah.
have?
So yeah. So out of Italpasta, our main manufacturing plant, our distribution center, we have about 220 employees. And then in our daily meat slicing plant, I'm also responsible for all sorts of HR functions for that. They have about like 30 employees over there as well. Because that's a much smaller facility, they don't really have any dedicated HR person for that. So it's kind of under my umbrella to oversee any of their HR related needs as well. And then in the Greece pasta in Montreal, I'm not really that much involved with them because they have a separate HR person overseeing their HR needs. But I believe in that location they have about 120 employees. However, so under my umbrella, I have to oversee the needs for about 206 employees at three locations.
Mm-hmm. Well, this kind of segues us quite nicely into our topic on automation. In the 4 years that you've been at Italpasta, what changes have you seen occur due to automation? I think, and maybe if you wouldn't mind just sort of explaining when we talk about automation and robotics in food manufacturing, what exactly are we referring to? Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very great question. So in order to answer that question, I'll just go back to my experience. So when I worked with Mondelez, in the Scarborough plant, I worked in the Dad's Cookies factory. So that factory is quite old. Their lines are mostly manual. So there we used to make Dad's cookie, Oreo cookie, Chips Ahoy cookie, and then so many other types of cookies there. There, all these cookies are like hand picked. So the cookies they come on conveyor belt, and there are people who are sitting right next to each other for packaging. So they pick up all the cookies using their hand, and then they put them into the packet. So let's say if an employee misses to pick up a cookie, it basically goes straight to the bin. So there's a lot of wastage. And then in order to accommodate all these people, you have to spend a lot of money from a company's point of view. It's expensive to hire people, right? So, and then here at Italpasta, our plant is very, very big in size, but we don't have that many people working inside of our plant. The main reason is automation. So what is automation? Automation is basically whenever we are reducing the manual labor by the technology. In a nutshell, that's what we call automation. So in our Italpasta, I heard that there was a time when we had over 300 employees working inside our manufacturing facility, where we have only about 120 employees working in our manufacturing facility. So what happened to this almost 200 people? Well, unfortunately, due to the automation, those jobs didn't exist at one point. So there was a time when all these pastas they were like manually packed. However, over the time we upgraded our machines, we added a lot of automation. Now everything is automated. So when it comes to production, when it comes to packaging, everything is fully automated. You start the machine, you make sure that well, pasta is made with something called semolina. That's the big ingredient to make pasta. So you have to make sure that you have semolina and other ingredients available and coming to the machine so that the machine can do the mixing and whatever steps need to follow depending on the recipe, and then the machine will be making itself. And when pasta is made in the production machine and when it's done, then it goes to the next stage, which is the packaging machine. So in the packaging machine, uh, there is you don't have to manually pack those pastas anymore because the packaging is done completely by the machine. There's no manual touch involved in the whole process at all. So from production to packaging, everything is automated. Everything is done by machine. There's no manual touch.
Mm.
However, um, back in the days, we had a lot of employees for packaging people. Now we have employees who oversee those machines. Now we have a lot of people who have background of automation, of electrical, of robotics. So they are the ones because machines they break down because we run 24 hours a day. We have morning shift, afternoon shift, and night shift. When a machine is continuously running, there are some issues with the machines, and it is important that we have knowledgeable people who can look after these machines, and if there's a problem, they are skilled enough to fix those problems.
Hmm. It's interesting because there's that debate of is automation taking away jobs? But a question I'd love to ask is um, those more manual positions. What was it like to hire people for them? Was it a revolving door that people say they want these jobs, but it's very challenging from your perspective as an HR manager to keep people in those roles because they weren't desirable positions to start with, right?
Exactly. So, well, employee retention is always an issue. I think it's just all over the country, especially whenever there are a lot of work and there are not too many people, and then companies are desperately looking for people, and then some companies are offering more money, and then people would be interested
Mm.
in opportunities. So that's a problem. So when it comes to retention, it's very important that companies are looking after the needs of the employees, and especially when an employee leaves the organization, if the company can conduct an exit interview and they can try to find out the main reason why this employee is looking for another opportunity or leaving,
Mm.
then it's up to the employee, the organization, to identify the gaps, the problems they're facing. It could be not just the money itself. It could be due to the bad manager. It could be due to the culture. It could be due to the workload. It could be due to how their coworkers are treating them, if they're getting bullied at workplace or not. So there are like a number of factors that are impacting the decision for someone to leave an organization. So it's very important that from an HR standpoint, those problems are identified and rectified as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's interesting because it's always been a challenge to hire people in the food industry compared to other industries. It's not one that people automatically think about as one that they want to work in when they're at school, for example, unless someone's going into food science or something very specific. It's not really an industry that people think about. And I laugh when you were talking about working at Mondelez with the cookies. Some of the time if you were to just put into a search engine food production, you see that old fashioned black and white video of the ladies, working on the line, and it's like there's not really a ton of imagery that supports how much the industry has changed and evolved because of automation and robotics. So what kind of jobs would you say have replaced those more manual, when you say you used to advertise for general labor or operators? What would your job titles look like now in order to bring a solid workforce into Italpasta, knowing about how much automation there is there now?
Correct. Yes. So back in the days, we would advertise more jobs under the category of general labor, but these ones with automation evolving, these are not straight general labor positions anymore because you don't really do the way you used to do it, back in the days when there was no automation. So now it's more like a technical position, more like, packaging technician, production technician, because whenever there's a problem with the machine, we want these individuals to do a little bit of diagnosis with the machine, try to find out what the problem is. So this is more like a technical standpoint, right? And then, of course, not everyone comes from a technical background. So how we work here at Italpasta, whenever we try to hire people for like our packaging lines, we try to find someone, not just a straight general labor. We try to find people who have a little bit of technical background or someone who is willing to learn those machines, how it works, the function itself. And then whenever there's a problem with the machine, a lot of the times, the packaging machine gets stuck, or there could be so many different types of problems with the sensor, with the motor, with the bearing, so many different types. So we want those individuals to at least identify the problem and where the problem is taking place and what could be the solution. And of course, a lot of the times they're not very skilled people; they don't have a lot of background. So if this is something simple that they can fix by themselves, we always encourage them to take that step when they think that they are skilled enough to solve the problem. But if they find it too complicated, then they can always get in touch with our maintenance team. We have got very highly skilled people who have experience in with a lot of mechanical issues and electrical issues and automation and robotics. Whenever we hire people for maintenance team, we try to find people with all these types of background because we come across different mechanical issues, different electrical issues, automation issues, and robotic issues. So it's very important that we have the right people to run the business. And I just wanted to touch base on one thing that, as you were mentioning, that, people, a lot of the times, whenever people look for opportunities, they kind of try to go for other industries, not that much for the food industry. One challenge we come across in our organization is at Italpasta, as we make pasta, and I think this condition is very similar to all sorts of bakeries as well. That in the bakery, the environment is quite hot and humid just because of the nature of the business, and you can't really do a lot. I mean, although we have got ventilation, we have got AC coming in, but air from AC coming in, but at the same time, to make pasta, there needs to be a certain temperature, and then at one of the last stages of pasta, there's a dryer that the pasta has to go through for a couple of hours so that the pasta gets dry before packaging, and the dryer itself it releases a lot of heat as well. So you can't really do a lot to fix those problems, especially in the summertime. Our time gets very, very hot and humid, which is the temperature up to like 40 to 45 degrees Celsius in the production area. We have got certain areas where employees, can stay in air-conditioned rooms. And then as we have a lot of automation, it's not like that they stay in the production area in the hot temperature the entire shift. Rather, whenever they have to walk around and see if all the machines are running properly or not, and if there's a problem, then they can just go there and fix it. But at the same time, I think heat is a problem in the food industry that I've noticed.
Yes, the nature of it, right? You mentioned as an HR manager, part of your role is health and safety, and I would assume that it combines ergonomics, making sure that you're responsible for making sure people aren't getting injured. And so with reducing those manual roles, the repetitive strain that people would experience, lifting, all those types of things. Tell us a little bit about that, the things, the lengths that you go to as an HR manager to make sure people are safe and healthy, and stay safe.
Yes. So I would say that a lot of the times in the manufacturing industry, it's not just within the food industry. It could be press industry, it could be automobile industry, it could be any type of industry. These labor-intensive jobs, a lot of the times, these jobs are very, very repetitive tasks. And whenever people keep doing repetitive tasks, they might get strained, and then also they, they might, there are like so many components and machineries here and there. Sometimes they might, get mistakenly, hit some of their body parts, some of the machines, they might get bruised, and then a lot of the times they have to do lifting as well.
Mm.
So it causes, back injuries, or so many different types of injuries at the same time. So from an HR health and safety standpoint, I would say that it's very important that all these organizations where employees have to go through this type of environment, they address the issues, and then they try to provide them, sufficient break time so that the employees can get a bit of time to release themselves. Here at Italpasta, we don't have a lot of positions where they have to repetitively do the same thing just because it's a lot of automation here. So whenever at Mondelez, whenever all these cookies were on the line coming, and then you have to handpick every cookie, you need to use your hand like a machine. But
Mm.
here at Pasta, our packaging technician, they just load the boxes or sleeve in the machine, and the machine does the packaging by itself. And then they basically, just keep an eye on the machine just to make sure that it's running smoothly or not. If there's a problem, then stop the machine and try to oversee what the problem is. If they cannot solve the problem, then they go and get in touch with our maintenance team. So due to the automation, the repetitive task has gone down dramatically.
Mm. Hmm. And in terms of health and safety and like food safety in general, obviously that's always the number one priority for any food company, is to make sure that food safety is paramount. Would you say automation has helped efficiencies there, less human error because you're using machines, in terms of the actual safety of the food product?
Yeah, 100%. For example, in our plant, um, we make pasta here, right? So when pastas are inside of the box, I'm talking about the box that we buy from, let's say, Walmart or from Longos, whatever store. Let's say we have a pasta box for like 900 grams. And one of the last stages is the pasta box. It has to go through on a scale, like an automated scale, where the machine itself is going to measure if any chance if there is less than 900 gram of pasta or not, just to make sure that we deliver to our customers whatever we promise to them.
Mm.
So if there is less than 900 gram of pasta inside the box, and then the machine itself will automatically reject the box. So, and then we know that okay, it was underweight, and then so we open the box, and then we backfill those box, and then just put it back in the line again, just to make sure that we provide sufficient pasta in the machine. So it's just changing in every way. Automation and then this robotic and this AI, they're just dramatically changing the whole world. It's just not the same how it used to be. It did cut some of the jobs, but at the same time, it created jobs in other areas as well. So I think that it's very important that we kind of go through with the new trends, with the new changes, because back in the days, people used to write letter to their beloved person living in abroad or living in different cities. But now we can send a text message, right? Or we can send an email, or we can just call them. So these things are evolving, and it's very important that we adapt the change. Otherwise, we're falling behind.
Absolutely. As a business, if you're not constantly evolving, you're left behind. You're already left behind. So, do you mind explaining what some of the key automation technologies are that you've adopted? You've talked a little bit about, some of the processes, some of the automation, but do you use AI? I know that's a hot topic. And if so, how are you using that at Italpasta? And maybe, do you use robots? Are they robots that everyone imagines, like literally moving around, or is it robotics? Like, explain a little bit about that
Yeah.
for us, if
So
you wouldn't.
in our organization, we don't have any walk-in robots. That robot that walks in. However, you know what? We actually have one kind of that is our cleaner robot. It has nothing to do with our pasta, but we have a robot named Neo, and then the robot is just responsible for cleaning the floors of our warehouse and our manufacturing plant. I think you might come across see some of those robots in Walmart as well. I've noticed them
Right.
as well. Yeah, yeah. So when you try to it just mop the floor, it mops the floor. It's just very nice and so when you come across in front of it, it will just stop, and then when the road is clean, then it can just keep working. So we have those kinds as well. But other than that, when it comes to AI, back in the days, we when it comes to inventory management, it was like a lot of manual work and counting. But nowadays, it's just all real-time updates. So we have our inventory in our cloud system. So how
Mm.
it works basically, whenever we get any products in our warehouse, we scan the product and it gets updated in our system. And then whenever we deliver any product to our customer, we scan that as well. So that way we know whatever we have in our organization, in our warehouse. There was a time when there was like a lot of manual counting to find out how much products are stored there. But nowadays it has changed because from the system we can see how much products are coming in and how much are going out. So whatever is inventory there, and at the same time, demand forecasting. That is also another part where AI has changed. Back in the days, when it comes to demand forecasting for our organization, there was like again like a lot of manual work involved. But due to this AI, the system automatically predicts. Okay, so last year during this time, this was your demand, and so this time of the year you are expecting something like this, and at the same time it gives us the real-time information regarding sales as well, how much we are selling, where it's going, so how much we need to produce. So a lot of this work are just done by this AI technologies nowadays.
Mm. And that reduces food waste. You save costs, save money for the business when you can adopt those types of technologies. I think it's fascinating, and certainly the food industry is not the perception of the industry has changed. What people perceive as what's going on is very vastly different because the industry is adopting these new technologies and getting more efficient. So it makes it a cooler place to work, which is what we're aiming for. What technologies are you aware of personally that maybe Italpasta has not had the chance to adopt yet, but you're excited about in the food industry? Is there any that you see out there, or any that are planned for the future that you're aware of? I don't know if you're able to share those types of secrets, but
Yeah, I mean, like some of these things are a little confidential that we are not really supposed to share, but I can tell that we are technologically we are very very much advanced because from production to packaging, everything is automated. There's no human or manual touch to make our pasta.
mm,
Uh, when there's a problem, we try to go and fix the machines or the robots, whatever we have. And then also the inventory system, AI in our inventory. That's like a recent implementation. We implemented that this year. Even like last year, we had to do like a manual inventory count, but starting from this year, that process got eliminated. We don't have to manually count inventories anymore. Now it's just all technologies that's taking place. Yeah, I don't really know of any new technologies that we are planning to um, get soon. The only thing I can tell is we have some of the lines for making pasta. We are upgrading those lines, so as a result, we can produce more pasta. The machines are much more efficient than the previous machines we have, and at the same time, uh, we are going to add a few more lines. That means more jobs will be created here at
mm.
Italpasta.
Well, that is a great way to move into the next sort of portion of the questions I wanted to ask, which is it's very rare to have an HR representative in one of our mentorship sessions these days, and you are like gold. Obviously when people are looking for a job, it's like, how do I reach the HR manager? How do I reach the acquisition person? And so I think it's I would get told off if I didn't ask some questions around how can people stand out to you. So I guess twofold. What are the qualifications you're looking for? The most in demand at Italpasta, and twofold. How can individuals that potentially have these qualifications or are pursuing those qualifications stand out to you as an HR manager? How does their resume get to you?
Yeah, I mean, whenever we need employees, there are different methods that we use to source our employees. One of them is internal referrals. If we have let's say, if we have someone great in our inventory department, and then we have a new position open, and then we tell them, hey, do you need someone who's like you, who would be a good fit for this job? So, internal referral is always there, and then usually we get good candidates because the person who refers, they kind of have an idea of the culture of the work itself, so they can share with the individual what kind of environment you are going to get with the boss or the workload itself. Because a lot of the times, whenever an employee goes to a new organization, that's like a little uncertain environment. They don't know what to expect. They don't know the culture itself. They don't know the boss itself, right? So it's a little difficult. However, so other than internal referral, whenever there's vacancy, we post our ads on different websites. So people who apply on those job ads, and at the same time, we do something called resume search or Boolean search. Yeah, yeah, because we have this staffing background, so you know that very well. Yeah, so I do that as well. And then nowadays on Indeed, let's say you whenever an employee applies for a job, there is an option to send a message to the employer, to the hiring person. So that's a good way of reaching out. We get a lot of messages like this. Sometimes I do check them, but at the same time, of course, the resume and the skill itself, if someone has experience, those things are more important. And then a lot of the times, people just directly call us and they say, you have advertised for this position. If we can, if you would consider my profile. So, the first thing, I try to check with them if they have the right skills for this job or not, if they have the right experience or not. When it comes to the entry level position, we don't really expect these people to have a lot of experience or anything. If there's pressure, that's absolutely fine. But we try to see if their goal is for long term aligned with whatever we are looking for or not. If anyone has any type of experience working volunteer or just as a part time or so, we also value those things as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, it depends on the position you're recruiting for. I think people need to make sure that they read the job description. If you're specifically saying, engineering degree or food science degree, or if it's doesn't require a degree, those pieces you're putting it in the job description for a reason, that you'd obviously like people to apply if they fit. And I always say, you don't have to check every box. But in the, when it comes to the qualifications part, it helps if at least the first few. Yeah. So once someone has been successful in terms of getting a call from you to say, you'd like to interview them, what would be your best advice for the interview? Whether it's a virtual, a lot of the time since COVID anyway, a lot of virtual interviews are that first a video call like this, and then if that goes well, then you often will invite them into the plant for a tour and meet other individuals and that kind of thing. But what would be your advice to nail the interview?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Finding a job is difficult, right? Especially it's more difficult for fresh grads who have little to no experience. So getting an interview call as a fresh grad is just it's a very big deal. So you don't want to miss out. You don't want to make any mistakes. That's going to get you eliminated from this interview. I do remember that when I was a fresh grad, I finished a master's from University of Windsor. I was applying for jobs one after one after one, and it was very difficult to get interview calls. And then I got two, three interview calls here and there, and then I just didn't know what to answer for particular questions. So um, as soon as I told them the answer, and then the reaction, they didn't tell me anything, but the reaction I got from them, I'm like, you know what, I just say something dumb. I shouldn't have said that. So, there are very basic questions, that are being asked. It's just like, if before the exam, if you give the questions, if you're a professor of a college or of a university, and then before the exam, if you tell your students that these are the questions that you'll be asked in the interview, the students will be super happy. So I just want to share like a few questions that might be asked during the interview session, and then these questions are very, very common. It's not that I just ask these questions. Also, they're pretty much asked all over the places. So one of the first questions that is being asked is, tell me about yourself. I think that's a very first question. So this is the question that, there is something called first impression matters. So this is the question that you are being asked first, and then how you answer this question is extremely important. So it's important to tell them a little bit about your educational background, a little bit about your experience. If you're a fresh grad, you don't have a lot of experience, but then again, you can share your experience if you have any like part-time job or any volunteer position that you worked in, and also how you have gained some of the skills that are vital for this job, and how those skills are transferable, and then how you can make an impact for the organization. That's one question that is often being asked, and then a lot of the times, if someone has experience, then they will be asked regarding their duties and responsibilities, and then like a typical day, how it goes for them. And then also, other than that, often a question is asked, tell us about your weakness. So to answer this question, someone should not say anything critical for the job, although that is a weakness for that person, but it's not a good idea to let your expose your weakness, which is critical for the job. Because I just want to give you an example. Let's say someone is applying for an entry level accounting position, and maybe the person is okay with the numbers but not very good with the numbers. So during the interview, you shouldn't say that I'm not good with the numbers, then you'll be eliminated right away. Right? So these type of things, especially the fresh grads, they are not too sure, what to say, what not to say. So they need to be a little careful. And then if you go for an interview, and if you think that you didn't do very well, try to at least remember the questions that you are being asked at the time and that you couldn't answer properly. So that later, when you come home, you can Google the answer for those ones, or you can discuss someone who's experienced, and then you get to know the answers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think communication skills are key, and I think that years ago it was maybe a little bit more challenging. But in that, and I do this as a recruiter when I want to test. Like, obviously, communication skills, talking like this is one thing, and depending on someone's background, you don't expect perfect English all the time. That's not an expectation for any employer, I don't think. But certainly with the written communication, I will sometimes send a few questions for two reasons, so that people can take their time, because I've put them on the spot. So sometimes they need to reflect if they've learned more about the company or learned more about the role, and it gives them a chance to kind of reflect on their own experience. But as a recruiter, if I've written the questions out and they're responding, it gives me a chance to see what their written communication is like too. And I think, it's not, it's really, really easy now to get to nail that, to put that through something, whether it's AI or whether it's Grammarly or some sort of app, to make sure that, the written piece is again, not perfect, but doesn't have a ton of mistakes, because written communication is so important too. So I always say, I think the younger generation now, there's so many resources at their fingertips. It's like, use them, like
Exactly.
you have all these things. I didn't have these things growing up, when I was starting out. It's like you have so many things that you can use. And I think that is impressive. If they can come to your door and say, I can use all these different technologies, apps, AI. I know as a hiring manager myself, I'm impressed by that. It's like, I don't look at it as cheating. I look at it as you're using the resources that are available to you to do your job well. And I love seeing all that's available now. And, we're in a digital world. So, yeah.
Interesting enough, I was talking to a COO of a company a couple of days ago, and then he was mentioning he's like in his 70s right now, and then he was mentioning that when he was in school, calculator all of a sudden it was introduced at the time, and then that time it was considered as cheating if you use calculator in your school. Now the time has changed, and then we cannot imagine our life without calculators. So he was mentioning that how this AI and this chat GPT, all these things are evolving a lot of the times. Whenever whenever this young generation are using them, we consider that you need to use your brain, but at the same time, these resources have been available, and then technically, if they do not use these resources, they won't be able to upgrade themselves. Aligning with these resources is important. That whatever technology is evolving, you make yourself familiar. Not just make yourself familiar, you become an expert of using that, so you can take the most out of it.
Yeah, so true. We are nearing the end of our mentorship session. I guess I'd love to end on a positive note on why do you love your job? What is it that that motivates you to get up every day?
Okay, yeah, I would say the first thing I would mention is work environment. In my job itself, and then my job is not very repetitive because I have to oversee on so many different functions of HR. It's not that I focus on one particular task the whole day. Back in the days when I was within the staffing industry, I was responsible for screening, resuming, or interviewing people the whole day. But at the same time, that's just a part of my day here right now. And there's so many different tasks that I have to do on a day-to-day basis. So I don't feel bored, number one. Number two is the people I work with, they're fantastic people. From the leadership team to the employees at the top level, everyone is super nice and friendly and approachable. I just don't feel like coming to work. I feel like I'm just going from one family to another family to spend a couple of hours of the day.
That's awesome. I love that. Just to end, if somebody does want to, that's listening today, is interested to explore career opportunities at Italpasta, what's the best advice? Where would you tell them to go?
Yeah, so whenever we have any openings, we usually post them on Indeed or on LinkedIn. And then if you think that your skill and experience aligns with the position itself, then don't hesitate. You can send me an email, but also you can just call the direct number of Pasta, and then you can ask for the human resources manager, and then you will be able to reach me out. And also in our website, we have an email address provided there as well. So, if you need to send an email with a resume, maybe you don't have the opening for yourself in our company, but you think that this is the type of position that our company hire for time to time. So, you can just, if you are a passive job seeker, you can just send over your resume to us. So we keep them in a database, and then whenever there's a vacancy, we reach out to you if you're the right candidate.
You stay in touch. That's amazing. Well, thank you again so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. I say this all the time. Without professionals like yourself that will take the time to chat with me about the company, about the positions, about your own role, it's really hard to encourage people to explore careers in the food and beverage processing space. I don't think it's an area that we've done enough work in. I'm glad that CareersNOW is changing that, and to our partnership with FoodGrads as well. We're really hoping to inspire that next generation to explore careers in this amazing industry, to work with family. Like you said, it definitely does encourage people that are looking for that kind of environment. So again, we really appreciate your time today. And anyone that's listening to this, even if it's after the recording, the live stream, please feel free to reach out to us. My email is always available, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you again, and have a great rest of the day.
You are most welcome. My pleasure to be in the session. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.